Have you ever said something in anger and wished you could take it back? Have you ever made a quick emotional decision only to regret it later? And have you ever wondered how different your life might feel if you could truly master your reactions? Science quietly confirms something many of us have experienced the hard way. Decisions made in moments of intense anger are far more likely to be flawed than decisions made in calm states of mind. In those heated moments, the emotional part of the brain speaks loudly, while careful reasoning grows faint and distant. That is why the great philosopher Aristotle once observed, "Anyone can become angry, but to be angry at the right time for the right reason and in the right amount, that is the true skill." It sounds simple, but in real life, how many of us have truly learned that skill? Today's story is gentle but powerful. It reminds us that true strength is not found in raising our voice, but in learning when to pause. Long ago, in a prosperous kingdom surrounded by rolling hills and wide rivers, there lived a ruler named King Marcus. King Marcus was intelligent, disciplined, and respected for his sharp decision-making. But beneath his strong reputation, he carried a quiet weakness, his temper. It did not take much to disturb his mood. A delayed report, a small mistake, an unexpected inconvenience. Even minor problems could ignite his anger faster than anyone expected. And when the king became angry, his words were sharp, his decisions were quick, and sometimes they were unfair. Many in the palace learned to walk carefully around his moods, not because they did not respect him, but because they feared the storms that could rise without warning. One autumn afternoon, news arrived that stirred something unexpected inside the palace walls. The king's childhood mentor had returned to the kingdom after many years away. This man, Professor Elias, had once guided young Marcus not only through books and strategy, but through the deeper lessons of patience, character, and self-control. When King Marcus heard the news, something softened inside him. He immediately invited his old teacher to the palace for dinner. That evening, the great dining hall was quiet and warm. Golden candlelight flickered gently against the stone walls. King Marcus and Professor Elias sat across from one another, sharing a simple meal and memories from long ago. For a while, the king felt peaceful, almost like the young student he once was. But life has a way of testing us when we least expect it. As the servants carefully placed the king's bowl of soup before him, something small and unfortunate happened. A single fly drifted down and landed directly in the king's soup. The moment Marcus saw it, his face tightened, his jaw stiffened, and in an instant, his old temper surged forward. "What is this?" the king snapped sharply, his voice echoing across the hall. The nearby servant froze in fear. "A fly in my soup? How could you be so careless?" The young servant trembled. "Your Majesty, there was no fly when the soup was served," he said nervously. But the king's anger had already taken hold. His breathing grew heavier. His eyes hardened. The atmosphere in the hall turned tense. It was at that exact moment that Professor Elias spoke, softly. "Your Majesty," the old teacher said calmly, "may I suggest we pause for a moment?" The king turned toward him, still visibly irritated. "Teacher, you see what has happened," Marcus replied. "Even small mistakes like this ruin the entire evening." Professor Elias studied the king gently, his expression calm and patient. Then he said something the king would never forget. "Your Majesty, the fly did not destroy your peace. Your reaction did." The words hung quietly in the air. For the first time in several minutes, the king fell silent. Professor Elias continued, his voice steady and warm. "One who cannot rule over his own emotions can never truly rule anything else." The dining hall remained still. No one moved. King Marcus felt something unfamiliar stir inside his chest. Not anger. Awareness. The old teacher leaned forward slightly. Decisions made in anger, or even in extreme excitement, are often the ones we later regret, he said gently. Before you respond, give your mind a moment to settle. Do not allow emotions to drive the decision. You must learn to guide them. The king exhaled slowly. But I have tried, Marcus admitted in a quieter voice. Still, my temper rises faster than I expect. Professor Elias smiled kindly. That is because control is not a single decision, he said. It is a habit built through practice. He paused briefly, then added, just as the body grows stronger through repeated exercise, the mind becomes calmer through repeated patience. Those words sank deep into the king's thoughts. That night, long after the candles were extinguished and the palace grew quiet, Marcus remained awake, thinking and reflecting. For the first time, he began to notice something he had overlooked for years. His anger often arrived before his awareness. His reactions often came before his thinking. And slowly, he understood. If he wanted different results, and he would need different habits. In the weeks that followed, King Marcus began practicing something simple, but powerful. He paused before speaking, before judging, before reacting. At first, it felt unnatural. There were moments when irritation still rose quickly inside him, but each time he remembered his teacher's words, pause first, decide second. Little by little, something began to change. When the mind remained calm, his thoughts became clearer. When his thoughts became clearer, his decisions became wiser. The people in the palace noticed the difference. The king's voice grew steadier. His judgments became more balanced, and the tension that once filled the royal court slowly began to fade. Months later, Marcus sought out Professor Elias once again. This time, there was quiet gratitude in his expression. "Teacher," the king said sincerely, "your words have changed more than my decisions. They have changed my life." Professor Elias nodded gently. "You were always capable of this," he replied. "You simply needed to practice awareness." Then the old teacher added something even more important. "Remember, Your Majesty, you are not alone in this struggle. Many people live their entire lives reacting instead of reflecting." He looked directly into the king's eyes. "If you have truly learned this lesson, share it. Help others understand that calmness is not weakness, it is strength in its most refined form." The king bowed his head slightly. From that day forward, he did exactly that. But the lesson does not belong only to a king, it belongs to all of us. Because in today's fast and demanding world, emotional pressure surrounds us constantly. Traffic delays, work stress, unexpected criticism, small frustrations that slowly accumulate throughout the day. And if we are not careful, these moments can quietly shape our behavior in ways we later regret. Emotions themselves are not the enemy. Anger, happiness, sadness, and these are natural human experiences. They come and they go. The real danger appears when we react without awareness, when emotion speaks and wisdom remains silent. That is why the first step toward emotional mastery is recognizing our triggers. Every person has them. For some, it may be criticism. For others, feeling ignored. For others, still being rushed or placed under pressure. Triggers can come from words, situations, memories, even from simple daily inconveniences. But once we begin to notice them, something powerful happens. We create space between the emotion and the reaction, and inside that space lives our true power of choice. When you feel anger beginning to rise, try something simple. Pause. Take one slow breath. Feel your feet on the ground. Notice your thoughts without immediately believing them. This small practice interrupts the emotional storm. It gives the thinking mind time to return. Other gentle tools can help as well. Taking a short walk, stepping away briefly, speaking calmly with someone you trust, or simply allowing a few quiet moments for the emotion to pass. Because here is a truth many people forget. Emotions are temporary visitors. They feel permanent in the moment, but they always move on if we allow them to. Patience is not about suppressing emotion. It is about guiding it with awareness, with kindness, with practice. Over time, those who learn this skill discover something remarkable. Their relationships grow stronger, their decisions grow wiser, and their lives feel noticeably more peaceful. Because the person who masters their reactions masters far more than a single moment. They begin to master the direction of their entire life. So the next time frustration knocks at your door, pause, breathe, and remember, King Marcus, true strength is not found in how loudly we react. It is found in how wisely we respond. If this story brought you value today, please take a moment to like, share, and subscribe. Your support helps these meaningful lessons reach others who may need them. Thank you for being here, and may your days grow calmer, your decisions clearer, and your life more peaceful with every thoughtful pause you take.